Of the water stone of the wise. Second part of the book, written by anonymous author. And attend to his calling with diligence. Let him not be led astray by black nor by white. That same man cannot, only, from tin, steel, and copper fine, make for himself enough gold and silver. Rather he can also, in these matters, provided that God remains gracious to him, out of loam and red, earth/ochre, make gold. The Part 2. Isaiah, chapter 28. Therefore says the Lord, Behold, I lay in Zion a foundation stone, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, well founded, whoever has it will not be put to shame. This oft-mentioned high and noble art the philosophers, in their writings, before and after perfection, have not been able to extol highly enough with splendid, lofty titles. For that reason they have thus designated it, and in general have called it the lapidem philosophorum, or the ancient, hidden, unknown, natural and incomprehensible one, indeed the heavenly, blessed and beatified one, also the common triune universal stone of the wise. The reason, however, why they have called and compared it precisely to a stone is, among other things especially this, because the matter of the same, at the beginning, as in or out of the earth, is truly a stone, and afterward, because it is hard and dry, so that, like a stone, it can be pounded and ground, but especially when it is divided into its three parts, as nature herself has joined them together, then it must again of itself be reunited into the same, wholly and completely, and, according to nature, be artfully digested into a stone that is steadfast and fusible in the fire. How high and how very necessary the knowledge of the prima, alias materia secunda, of this secret philosophical stone is for those who desire to obtain it, the aforesaid philosophers have sufficiently reminded and admonished us to heed. For they have understood that this materia is nothing but a single thing, from which this stone alone and solely, without any foreign addition, though they have named it with 1,000 names, must be prepared, whose quality, kind, and property they have also wonderfully described, and in various summary ways have indicated as follows. Namely, that the same matter, at the beginning, is composed of three and yet is only one, likewise, that it is produced and made from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that it is found in 1 and 2, as it is everywhere. They also call the same the magnesia catholica, or sperma mundi, the seed of the whole world, from which all natural things have their origin. Likewise, that it is of a wondrous and singular birth and form, has an inexplicable and unfathomable nature and property, so that it is neither hot nor dry, like fire, and not cold nor moist, like water, nor cold nor dry, like the earth. Rather, it is a fitting and perfect consonance of all the elements. It is also of an indestructible body, which by no element can be attacked, which, with all its properties, like the heavens, stands above the four elements and four qualities, as something indestructible and a quinta essentia, comparable with all things. Item, that as to its outward, bodily appearance, figure, form, and shape, it is a stone and yet not a stone, rather it likens itself more to a white gum or to water. They also call it a water of the great seas, a water of life, indeed the purest, blessed water, and yet it is not a water of the clouds or of any common spring, but one that endures above all and is beatific. Also, under another consideration, it is a dry water, which does not make the hands wet, or a slimy water that springs from the salty fatness of the earth. Item, a double mercury and azoth, which is fed and nourished by the vapor, steam, and sweat of the upper and the lower, the heavenly and the earthly globe, which also burns in its own fire. For it is itself a universally found fire of the light of nature, and, besides this, it has within it a heavenly spirit that penetrates through all things, with which it was animated and sealed by God in the beginning, whom Avicenna has called the soul of the world, and he says, just as the soul is present and moves in all the members of a human being, so this spirit is also present and moves in elemental creatures. It is likewise an inseparable property of bodies and of souls, and moreover the purest and noblest essence, in which all secrets are hidden, full of wondrous power and virtue. There belongs to it also an infinite might and a divine power. They say it is the Spirit of the Lord that fills the circuit of the earth, and in the beginning hovered upon the water. They also call it a spirit of truth, hidden from the world, and without the inspiration of the Holy Spirit or the instruction of those who know it, it cannot be grasped or attained. And yet it is in everything everywhere according to its power, but in this one thing alone it is found wholly and perfectly. In sum, such a spiritual substance as is neither heavenly nor hellish, but an airy, pure, and glorious body, the appointed mean between the highest and the lowest, and also the most elect and most blessed under the whole heaven. On the other hand, among those who have no understanding of it, or are only beginning, it is taken for the very least and most neglected thing, indeed, as it were, for a rejected thing, which nevertheless is sought by many understanding men, but found by few, seen at large and taken in hand by many, but recognized only by the lesser part, as is neatly hinted in the German verse here subjoined. One finds a good divided in three. Yet it is but one, believe me free. A thing the world holds not in worth, and therefore hardly follows forth. You have it before your eyes, at hand, and yet through blindness do not understand. Yea, by those who do not see. So little prize they pass it by, and yet it is the highest worth that ever may be on all the earth. Who knows it, and the middle word may become rich here and abroad. Enigma Philosophicum. A philosophical riddle in which the prime material subject of the art of the wise, called the phoenix of the philosophers, though entirely divided, is nevertheless to be found under 3 times 3 names. When I name it to you and tell it openly, the 3 parts that belong to it, why would you still complain so much? Look, trust me, I tell the truth. A little herb called trifolium, clover. You must indeed have, see, pray God for it. Seek 1 in 3 and 3 in 1. In secret it becomes even 1,000. Body, soul, and spirit, so they call it. Salt, sulfur, and also mercury. But do, believe me, understand the little herb itself, called trifolium, and that alone. If you have the clay and also understand the song, then you are truly a wise man. Another, much more explicit. In this world there is a fair thing, found everywhere as clay, and that comes about without special toil. Its color is gray, green, red, and white. It comes and flows hither like water. Yet it does not wet, now light, now heavy in weight. I could name its 1,000 names, yet 1,000 do not know it, because it seems so very base. And yet it is the most precious thing. Who can set it free in the midst? Dissolve it, and thereafter, therewith, in the third close it up again. He has the true subject. This stone's lineage is everywhere. Its conception takes place in hell. Its birth it has upon earth. Its life he finds in heaven. His dying he accomplishes in time. Thereafter he attains blessedness. When one now has at hand such indicated, virtue-bearing matter, partly heavenly, partly also earthly, and in the beginning a true confusion or a mixed being, also with no fully nameable color, and has likewise rightly and well recognized it, which knowledge the philosophers at all times have considered the principal point in this work, then its due must, according as its further requirement in its preparation demands, be diligently rendered and carried out. But before any handiwork with such a supposed or undertaken thing is set about, it is necessary that every God-fearing artista be again diligently reminded and admonished of the foregoing doctrine and introduction, and also faithfully warned that he must by no means engage himself with such a secret work and with the unfathomable spirit that is hidden therein, unless he has beforehand, according to nature, rightly and well recognized and learned its most deeply grounded qualities and properties. Thus a philosopher warns and says, with this spirit you should not involve yourself until beforehand you have sufficiently its knowledge and science. For God is wonderful in his works, and his wisdom is without number, who also does not permit anyone to trifle with him. For several examples could be told of how some, in a reckless manner, have undertaken so high a work, but have then fared so ill with it that some were even found dead at it, or else, through unfortunate circumstances, were dangerously harmed by it, since it is not such a trifling matter as some let them dream, imagining that, because the philosophers have compared it to a child's play and a woman's work, they therefore may think little of it. This, however, was not so meant, but they understood thereby the subsequent labor in this work, which in itself is very small and easy, and they have thus hinted at it in mean and simple words only to those whom God has deemed more worthy of it and endowed with the knowledge of it. Therefore see to it that you do not inconsiderately set about such a thing too soon, but first begin every undertaking, as was said at the beginning, with prayer and the help of God, then you will fear nothing further, nor be dismayed at its dangers. Moreover, when you have exercised yourself earnestly in your oratory and have recognized the matter and have it at hand, then thereafter you may apply your diligence also in the laboratory, take in hand the work that belongs thereto, and make a beginning. First, you must, before all things, dissolve and resolve this same oft-mentioned materia, or primum ens, which the philosophers have also called the highest good of nature, free it from its aquosity and terrestriety, for at the beginning it is an earthly, heavy body, a rough, tough, slimy, and foggy watery body to behold, purify and cleanse it, and also take from it its dark, thick misty shadow with which it is overshrouded, so that thereafter, by further sublimation, its heart and inmost soul, which are hidden in it, may likewise be separated and taken out of it, and be brought into a lovely nature. All this, however, can be done by the great Catholic sea-water which, through its swift and even ebb and flow, moistens and makes fruitful the whole circuit of the earth, and which moreover is so sweet, fair, clear, bright, and sweet-smelling that it is far higher and more beautiful to behold with wonder than gold and silver, or the diamond glitter of a carbuncle. This blessed water also holds the aforesaid materia enclosed and united within itself. This draws out heart, soul, and spirit, further, with its own salt, which is also specially inserted into the aforesaid matter and is of a blood-red color in its inner juice, but after its preparation is white, bright, clear, and transparent, and then is called by the philosophers the sal sapientiae. It must again be distilled and also congealed, so that it once more becomes a single thing. Thus, by such process as you have hitherto had, which is called the pre-work, you have first only separated the pure from the coarse, and made the visible invisible, and then thereafter made the invisible again visible and tangible, whereupon it is no longer so heavy, rough, and unfriendly as at the beginning, but is of the brightest kind, of pleasant smell, and also biting to test upon the tongue, likewise of a subtler, more penetrating, and airy nature, so that it is free from the air so that it is found free from the air, and of itself, since it is itself in it, would spring away and vanish, as is seen and felt. Therefore the wise have called it the mercurial water, or mercury of the sun, also their mercury. In the condition here indicated, however, such a subject, without further preparation, would, if you wished to use it for medicine, be of little help, indeed rather a harmful poison. Therefore, if you wish to enjoy its rich gift and abundant use, you must then proceed further, go on, and know how to act further by other special means and work. Meanwhile you must also be diligently and necessarily reminded to pay close attention to the workings, namely, how nature with time behaves in her operation, so that in all things in this your labor you also take your cues from her. When you know this, then take 2 parts of the aforesaid prepared water matter, and from the same again separate a third part of a more distinct kind. Keep and reserve the 2 parts carefully. To the former third part you must then first add yet another material matter, namely that most beautiful and, by God's creation, most highly endowed golden body, which is nearest akin to the prime matter and the most agreeable. Reckon 1 part against the 12th part, moisten it for the first fermentation and unite it with the 3rd part. Then join both together, as before, the spiritual and heavenly prepared water materia and this earthly body of the sun, be conjoined and made into one body. But note well, common gold is not suitable for this purpose, rather it is unfit and, as it were, to be reckoned dead. And although by God it has been qualified and dignified above all other metals as the fairest and most precious, nevertheless, because it has remained in the mines and ore pits, it has thereby been hindered from growing to its perfection. Moreover, through long use it is weakened in its inner powers, that is, in its indwelling sulfur, which is its anima, and it is still always mixed and joined with other unseemly things that are not convenient to it, and not separated from them, whereby the longer it goes the more unsuited it becomes for the work here treated. Therefore see how you may obtain a pure and also living, spirit-bearing gold, whose sulfur, as said above, has not been weakened, and which has never been falsified by any deceit, but is wholly and entirely, when it has passed through antimony, or through the heaven and sphere of Saturn, and has thus been purged of its filth, found clean and pure. Otherwise the other matter, with its spirit and the power of its ingress, cannot work upon it, for this work absolutely requires and will have a pure body, and will in, with, and beside it suffer or tolerate nothing unclean or unseemly. When, therefore, the two, water and gold, are parts unequal, not only in quality but also in quantity, of great disproportion, then the first, when it is prepared, is light, fine/subtle, and soft, while the other is quite heavy, firm, and hard, when they have been brought together into scaly plates and, as it were, made into a dry liquor or amalgam. Then let such a mixture stand for 6 or 7 days in a very gentle warmth, so mild that it is felt only lukewarm, and thereafter, from the previously. Reserve 3 parts of water, take again 1 part, put it into a round, well-sealed glass vessel or flask, like a phial or an egg, set the tempered liquor in the midst of it, and let it stand so again for 6 or 7 days. Then the body of the sun is gradually dissolved and loosened by the water. Thereupon the conjunction of these two begins, and their one is mingled into the other so pleasantly and finely as one thing mixes in warm water. This the philosophers have indicated in many ways and compared to the bride with her bridegroom, as Solomon also says in his song. When this has come to pass, then take the first reserve 3rd part likewise thereto, yet not all at once or in a single day, but in 7 separate portions, lest the inserted body otherwise become altogether too moist and be flooded, and at last even spoiled. For just as no seed, when it is set in the earth and at the beginning has too much water, rain, or wetness, can bring forth fruit, rather would the husbandman's seed be drowned, so it is likewise with this matter. When this also has been accomplished, then seal and lute the glass as carefully as possible, so that the inserted composition does not evaporate, or steal away, then set it in your proper furnace, give it a heat of the 1st degree, a very gentle, steady, airy and moist, steamy, fire, whose warmth is like that of a hen sitting upon her eggs. Note: the philosophers have written much about the vaporous fire, which they have called the ignis sapientiae, fire of the wise, and they add that it is not a material or elementary fire, but an essential or supernatural fire. Indeed, one may also call it a divine fire, that is, the water of Mercury, which, with the help of common fire and with art, is arranged so that at first they may digest and coabate together. Yet give diligent heed that none of the bodily, corporeal, parts sublime away, as the philosophers speak in parables, that the woman must not overmaster the man, nor the man be too violent toward the woman, etc. Then this proceeds in its process, one step after another, without any further work besides tending the fire, it accomplishes it of itself alone. For it is evident that the earthly, added body of the sun is thoroughly dissolved, ground to pieces, destroyed and putrefied, and is also robbed of all the powers it had, whence at the beginning a dark, and afterwards even a black color is produced, which the philosophers call the caput corvi, or raven's head, and this commonly happens in 40 days, so that at last its soul, anima, is also drawn out and taken from it and lifted on high, and is wholly and entirely separated. From this there remains a little hard lump, utterly without any power, lying dead on the bottom of the glass, a little ash remains lying at the bottom. After various intervals, however, when it is raised with a fire of 1 degree higher and is tirelessly digested, it gradually gives itself down again drop by drop, imbibes, moistens, drenches and thus sustains the body so that it does not quite wither away and burn up. Thereupon it rises again above itself, then again goes down beneath itself, and this happens about 7 times. Afterwards the fire must again be directed 1 degree stronger, yet not with the intention that you should make haste with it. For the mean and regimen of the fire, on which most depends, must be kept with utmost diligence. Here, above the glass or vessel, various signs and colors will appear, to which you must pay careful attention and guide yourself accordingly. When one sees these in succession, it is a good indication that a happy outcome will be obtained. First there appear little blisters, like fish eyes, then a circle about the matter, as though it enclosed it, then it becomes whitish once, afterwards it turns green and yellow, like a peacock's tail, thereafter to the most beautiful white, and then fire red and blood red, until, after some time, when a stronger fire and the final heat are given to the work, the soul and spirit are again wholly united with the body lying at the bottom into an indivisible and indissoluble tincture, a union which, because of its great and unspeakable wonder, cannot well be seen or contemplated without astonishment, fear, and trembling. Then there comes forth a newly awakened, living, perfect, and glorified body is seen and found, one that then has within itself the most beautiful purple-red color, like scarlet, whose tincture thereafter transmutes, tinges, and heals all other imperfect bodies, of which further notice shall be given later. When then the work, with God's help, has been brought to such a blessed end, and the noble phoenix, or wonder-bird, of the wise has been beheld, you shall once more, with bended knees and heart, give thanks to the Almighty, who has been the chief ruler of this whole work, for his delightful and glorious beneficence and grace, and further, you must know how to apply and use it rightly to his praise and honor, and for the need of your fellow members. Thus you now have a true account of the entire process by which this noble art and high work, namely the philosophical ends and the stone of the wise, may be completed, prepared, and perfected. At the close of this section it must further be shown how, if perchance therein some harmless error or a misstep, which can readily happen, yet is very hindering to perfection, should slip in and occur, counsel may be taken in good time, or else remedy afforded. If, first, you see that before the dissolution and the blackness something is sublimed and rises up, or else, as it were, a red oil, which is indeed a bad sign, floats above upon the matter. Secondly, if it should begin to turn red too soon, either before or right after the whiteness. Third, if at the end it will not set and be rightly coagulated. Fourth, if the matter has been so altered and spoiled by the heat that, when one takes it out, it will not at once melt and flow on a glowing iron like wax, and tinge and color the iron, nor afterwards endure in the fire and be found fixed. All such are notable signs by which one may perceive that the work has not been properly arranged and purified, or else has been carelessly neglected in some other way. Yet such defects and errors, if they have not grown too great and are noticed in time, can very well be remedied and brought back to right. It requires, however, great diligence to deal rightly herein, and there belong thereto artful manipulations and orderly means which will and should be well known to an experienced and practiced artist. But for the sake of beginners and lovers of this art I will also indicate these as briefly as possible. Namely, if one or more of the foregoing defects or errors should occur or be perceived, then you can dissolve the whole cooked composition anew, and imbibe, moisten, and strengthen it with the aforesaid aqua mercurii, which the philosophers have also called the milk of the Virgin, or, of the prime matter, its milk, blood, and sweat, likewise the immortal fountain or aqua vitae, the water of life, which nevertheless also contains the greatest poison in itself. Then boil it again until nothing more sublimates or ascends above itself, and the congelation or fixation in the work then shows itself fully, exactly as has been indicated above. Of its subsequent fermentation and multiplication, further notice will be given in the third part when we treat of its use. Here I ought also to speak somewhat more fully about the time that belongs to each act, when and how long such operations occur, which, however, cannot well be described here with any fixed term. For the said philosophers are of quite unequal opinion about the same, as may be seen from their writings, one always attains the effect earlier than another. It has already been reminded and stated above that in all this one must pay good heed to nature, how she shows herself in other things as well. If one does so, and diligently observes the same and in all respects holds to the right mean, one may with such work attain to perfection. But I warn and inform you in this, in entering upon the second or after work, do not in your reckoning go beyond this character X, the mean or point, rather you must know how to divide exactly, and then further with the half part of the said character X, that is, V, you should put back into the composition of this work. When this has been done, you can thereafter, when you join it together again and correctly reckon its XX parts, in the same number or time, provided nothing else intervenes to hinder, bring your work also to its end. Let such a proportion/time suffice you. To try 10 times to bring the term nearer is idle, and you will soon miss it. For a single hour can throw you back a whole month, or, if you hit upon it, it can advance you by as much time. Only take care not to reckon too exactly, or, as you had proposed, to overshoot beyond it, for should that happen, you would bring forth a monstrosity, wherein more than one, through his supposed haste or unskilfulness, has obtained, instead of his hoped-for elixir, a nixer. This I have touched upon briefly, since I would by no means keep back anything of this magical science from the Filii Sapientiae, to prompt further reflection. Enigma. 7 places, and 7 metal. And 7 days and 7 number. 7 letters, and 7 word. Also 7 time, and 7 place. To these I count 7 herbs. Also 7 arts, stones. 7 and 3 are apportioned. A half that no one overhastens. Some, in this number, so worthy. All things upon the whole earth rest. Process of the whole work briefly indicated. The first, or forework. The matter is dissolved. Thereupon straightway purified. The same thereafter distilled. Thus is the water coagulated. The second, or afterwork. Further, 2 things are conjoined. Purified and blackened. Then diligently digested. Until it is most beautifully whitened. And finally highly reddened. Coagulated and fixed. When it is then further fermented. The whole work is completed. Afterward such a portion tinges. So that 1,000 are multiplied. Or thus, shorter still. Seek 3 in one thing alone. And again 1 in the 3. Shut it up and open it again. Then you have the whole art. Enigma, in which the process is likewise indicated. To the body there is given, in due time, the spirit which gladdens the soul. When the spirit draws the soul to itself, and in the subtlest withdraws from the other. Thus the 3 remain together, until the body is dissolved free, rots and is corrupted, from it are parted soul and spirit. Yet after a time, in the last heat all comes together again, and keeps its seat in true perfection, glorified with great joy. Proverbs, chapter 23. Give me, my son, thine heart, and let thine eyes delight in my ways, etc. End of the second part of the book.